Please, can you come to my house to speak to my husband and using your experience to convince him to allow our daughter to go to school? Once upon a time, in the beautiful village of Omah, there lived a man named Dede Sam. Dede Sam was 55 years old, not looking so handsome. Despite his looks, Dede Sam was the richest man in the village. He had a big house, many cows and fields, full of crops. Everyone in the village knew Dede Sam because he always had money. He was also known for his wandering eyes that often stared at the younger women. Dede Sam's wealth came from his hard work and smart decisions. He bought lands and grew crops, which he sold at the market. He also lent money to people in the village. Many people had to borrow money from Dede Sam when they were in trouble, but borrowing money from him was not easy. Dede Sam always had conditions. One sunny afternoon, Dede Sam was sitting in front of his big house. He watched the people of the village as they went about their daily activities. Children were playing, women were fetching water, and men were working in the fields. Dede Sam felt proud. He was the richest man in Omah. But Dede Sam was not happy. Despite all his money, he did not have a family of his own. He had never married and he had no children. He often thought about finding a young and beautiful wife. He wanted someone who could take care of him in his old age. As he sat there, his thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps. He looked up and saw Mr. Okeke, his wife and their daughter Uchi, approaching. Dede Sam knew Mr. Okeke well. He was a good man, but his family was not wealthy. Dede Sam wondered what they wanted from him. Mr. Okeke greeted Dede Sam respectfully. "Good afternoon, Dede Sam," he said. "We have come to ask you for your help." Dede Sam looked at Mr. Okeke's daughter, Uchi. She was very beautiful with long natural hair and bright eyes. She was only 12 years old, but Dede Sam could see that she would grow up to be a very attractive woman. "What do you need help with?" Dede Sam asked, still looking at Uchi. Mr. Okeke sighed. "We need money to pay for Uchi's school fees," he said. "She is very smart and wants to continue her education, but we do not have enough money." Dede Sam nodded slowly. "I see," he said. "How much do you need?" Mr. Okeke told him the amount. It was not a small sum, but it was not too large either. For Dede Sam, it was a small price to pay. He thought for a moment, then looked at Mr. Okeke. "I can give you the money," Dede Sam said, "but I have one condition." Mr. Okeke and his wife exchanged worried looks. "What is the condition?" Mr. Okeke asked. Dede Sam smiled, showing his rotten teeth. "When Uchi finishes her secondary school, she must marry me," he said. Uchi's eyes widened in shock. She looked at her father, hoping he would refuse. Mr. Okeke looked down at the ground, deep in thought. He knew that Dede Sam was serious. If they refused, they would not get the money. But agreeing to the condition meant giving his daughter to a man who was old enough to be her grandfather. Mrs. Okeke took Uchi's hand and squeezed it. "Please, Dede Sam," she said softly. "Is there no other way?" Dede Sam shook his head. "This is my condition," he said firmly. Take it or you leave it. Mr. Okeke was torn. He wanted his daughter to go to school, but he did not want her to marry Dede Sam. He looked at his wife and saw the worry on her eyes. He looked at Oluchi and saw the fear in her. He knew he had to make a decision. Please, Dede Sam, Mr. Okeke said, we will repay you. Just give us some time. Dede Sam shook his head again. No, he said. This is my condition if you want the money. Oluchi must marry me when she finishes her secondary school. Mr. Okeke felt a lump in his throat. He looked at his wife and daughter one last time. He nodded slowly. We agree, he said quietly. Dede Sam smiled again. Good, he said. I will give you the money. But remember, when Oluchi finishes secondary school, she belongs to me. Mr. Okeke felt his heart sink. He knew he had made a difficult decision, but he hoped it was the right one. He thanked Dede Sam and took the money. As they walked back home, Oluchi was silent. She could not believe what had just happened. When they got home, Mrs. Okeke sat Oluchi down. We did this for you, for your future, she said gently. We want you to go to school and have a better life. Oluchi nodded, but inside, she felt scared and confused. She loved her parents and wanted to make them proud, but the thought of marrying Dede Sam made her feel sick. With the money from Dede Sam, Oluchi was able to continue her education. She worked hard and did very well in school. She was determined to make the most of this opportunity. Years passed, and Oluchi grew into a beautiful and intelligent young woman. She finished her secondary school with top grades and was ready to go to university. She was excited about her future and had many dreams. But Dede Sam had not forgotten his agreement with Mr. Okeke. He was getting older and more impatient. He wanted to marry Oluchi as soon as possible. He went to Mr. Okeke's house and reminded him of their agreement. One evening, Dede Sam arrived at Mr. Okeke's house. He knocked on the door and Mr. Okeke opened it. He knew why Dede Sam was there. Good evening, Dede Sam, Mr. Okeke said. Please come in. Dede Sam stepped inside and looked around. I have come to remind you of our agreement, he said. Oluchi has finished her secondary school. It is time for her to get married to me. Mr. Okeke felt a knot in his stomach. He had hoped that Dede Sam would forget or change his mind. But he knew that was not going to happen. He called for Oluchi and his wife. When Oluchi saw Dede Sam, she felt a wave of fear. She knew what was coming. Dede Sam looked at her and smiled. It is time for us to get married, he said. Oluchi took a deep breath and looked at Dede Sam. I cannot marry you, she said firmly. You are too old for me. I want to go to the university and follow my dreams. Dede Sam's smiles disappeared. His face turned red with anger. You made an agreement, he shouted. Your father took my money. You must marry me. Mr. Okeke and his wife stood by, helpless. They knew Oluchi did not want to marry Dede Sam, but they were afraid of what he might do if they refused. Mrs. Okeke stepped forward. Please, Dede Sam, please, she said. As you can see, Our daughter does not want to marry you. Please let us repay you the money. We will find a way. Dede Sam glared at her. Madam, respect yourself now, he said. This was the agreement. Agreement is agreement. Mrs. Okeke looked at her daughter with tears in her eyes. She knew how much Oluchi wanted to go to the university. She also knew that marrying Dede Sam would make her daughter unhappy. Please, Dede Sam, she begged. Think of her future. She is still young and has so much to live for. We will find a way to repay you, but give us some time. Dede Sam shook his head angrily. No, he shouted. She must marry me, or I will make your lives miserable. The news of the confrontations between Dede Sam and the Okeke family spread quickly through the village. People talked about it everywhere, at the market, at the river, and in their homes. Some people felt sorry for Oluchi, while others thought the Okeke family should honor their agreement. One evening, a group of villagers gathered to discuss the matter. They knew Dede Sam was powerful and could make life difficult for the Okeke family. But they also knew Oluchi did not deserve to be forced into a marriage she did not want. We need to find a way to help them, said one of the villagers. Oluchi is a good girl and she deserves to follow her dreams. But what can we do? Asked another. Dede Sam is very stubborn and powerful. He will not listen to us. The villagers talked late into the night. They knew they had to come up with a plan to help the Okeke family. They decided to gather everyone in the village and go to Dede Sam's house. They hoped that if enough people spoke up, Dede Sam might change his mind. The next morning, the villagers went from house to house, spreading the word. By the afternoon, a large crowd had gathered in the village square. They were determined to help Oluchi and her family. The crowd marched to Dede Sam's house. When they arrived, Dede Sam was surprised to see so many people. He stepped outside and faced the crowd. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. One of the villagers stepped forward. Dede Sam, we are here to ask you to reconsider your decision, he said. Oluchi is a young girl with dreams and a bright future. Forcing her to marry you will ruin her life. Dede Sam glared at the crowd. This is none of your business, he said angrily. This is between me and the Okeke family. They made an agreement and they must honor it. One by one, the villagers spoke up. They talked about Oluchi's potentials and how much she had to offer. They pleaded with Dede Sam to let her follow her dreams and go to the university. Dede Sam listened, but he was not moved. He was determined to get what he wanted. As the villagers continued to speak, a young man named Chidi stepped forward. Chidi was a respected member of the village and known for his wisdom. Dede Sam, Chidi said, I understand that you feel wrong, but forcing Oluchi into a marriage she does not want will not bring you happiness. Let her follow her dreams, and we will find a way to repay you. Dede Sam looked at Chidi. He respected him, but he was not ready to give up. And how will you pay me? He asked. The Okeke family has nothing. Chidi took a deep breath. We will all contribute, he said. Each family in the village will give you what they can. We will work together to repay you. The villagers nodded in agreement. They were willing to do whatever it took to help Oluchi and her family. Dede Sam thought for a long time. He looked at the crowd and saw their determination. He realized that forcing Oluchi to marry him would only bring more trouble. He sighed and nodded. Very well then, he said, I will accept your proposal. But remember, if you do not repay me, I will make your lives miserable. The villagers cheered. They were relieved that Dede Sam had agreed to their plan. They knew they had a lot of work to do, but they were determined to help the Okeke family. The villagers worked together to raise the money. They contributed whatever they could, money, crops, even livestock. Slowly, surely, they gathered enough to repay Dede Sam. Oluchi was overjoyed. She thanked the villagers for their support and promised to make them proud. She went on to university and studied hard. She knew that her future was bright, thanks to the love and support of her family and the villagers. Years later, Oluchi graduated from university with honors. She returned to Omah and used her education to help her community. She never forgot the sacrifices her family and the villagers made for her. As for Dede Sam, he realized that true happiness could not be bought with money. He learned to be contented with what he had and found peace in helping others. After Oluchi graduated and returned to Omah, the village began to see significant improvements. Oluchi used her knowledge and skills to start various community projects. She initiated a literacy program for women and children, established a healthcare center, and even started a small businesses to provide jobs opportunity for the villagers. Some parents went to seek advice from her concerning their own children on how they can get into school and become successful like her. A woman visited her and she said to her, Oluchi, I am so proud of you and of the woman you have become. Please, can you come to my house to speak to my husband and using your experience to convince him to allow our daughter to go to school? And Oluchi agreed. When Oluchi gets to the house of the woman, she was able to convince the husband to allow their daughter go to school. Although initially the man refused, but she was able to talk to him, telling him the importance of education and the value it will bring to them. And the man looked at Oluchi and was surprised. He said, okay, if that is the case, I'm going to allow her go to school. Oluchi was happy and fulfilled. Oluchi parents were so proud of their daughter, of what she has achieved through her education. Dede Sam watched all these developments with a mix of pride and regret. He saw how much Oluchi was loved and respected by the villagers. He realized that if he had forced her into marriage, none of these positive changes would have happened. He began to feel a sense of fulfillment, seeing the good she was doing in the community. One evening, Dede Sam invited Oluchi and her family to his house for dinner. He wanted to apologize and show his gratitude for the changes she had brought to the village. Oluchi, Dede Sam began, I see now that I was wrong to try to force you into marriage. You have done so much for this village. I am sorry for what I put you and your family through. Oluchi smiled warmly. Thank you, Dede Sam. It means a lot to hear you say that. I never held any ill feelings towards you. I just wanted to follow my dreams. Dede Sam, moved by Oluchi's words, decided to make generous offer. I want to contribute to the project you have started. I have money and resources that can help make them even better. Will you accept my help? Oluchi was surprised but grateful. Of course, Sam. Your support would mean so much. Together, we can make Omah an even better place. With Dede Sam's financial support, Oluchi's project flourished. The literacy program expanded, the healthcare center received new equipment, and the small business grew, providing more jobs for the villagers. Dede Sam felt a sense of pride and fulfillment he had never felt before. As they worked together, Oluchi and Dede Sam developed a deep friendship. Oluchi saw a different side of Dede Sam, a kind and generous man who genuinely cared about the village and its people. Dede Sam, in turn, admired Oluchi's dedication and passion for helping others. The village of Omah continued to thrive thanks to the hard work and dedication of Oluchi, Dede Sam, and the villagers. The project they had started brought lasting benefits to the village. Oluchi's dream had come true, and Dede Sam found true happiness in helping others. The bond between them and the village grew stronger, and they looked forward to a bright and prosperous future together. Thank you so much for watching this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop in the comment section your moral value and thoughts about this story. Please don't forget to give this story a thumbs up, subscribe, and share to your friends and loved ones. Until I bring another beautiful and heartwarming story your way. Bye.